Hi, and welcome to the Core Coaches Corner, where we take a principle from one of the 7 core healthy and happy principles and discuss it through a core lens. Today, Amy and I are here together, and we're going to be talking about
Healthy sexuality.
yes, and the name of this module is promoting emotional connection through sexual intimacy and the importance of that. And today we're gonna talk about the role of sexual desire, in particular, a little bit in promoting healthy sexuality and promoting emotional connection through sexual intimacy. So, thoughts on that? What are some of the healthy roles of sexual desire in a relationship?
I think one of the biggest things that keeps people close. So if you have a healthy sexual relationship, then you feel bonded to your partner and you kind of feel like you want to work out things together.
Yes. Yeah, there's some really predictable a couple of important predictable aspects of sexual desire in humans that are a little bit different from other animals. In humans, under normal circumstances, and there are things that, get in the way of normal circumstances, but in general, sexual desire for humans is both strong and consistent. It's a pretty consistent variable in our lives unless something gets wonky, but you can pretty well count on sexual desire in humans being powerful and being consistent. And you can see, if you look around the animal kingdom, when sexual desire isn't consistent, there's no family. In most animals, there's a season of high sexual desire and mating, and animals will come together and procreate, and then they go their separate ways and they don't have family. And so this is kind of an interesting topic. Amy, what do you think the role of sexual desire plays in creating and maintaining family?
Well, it makes it so that children are made.
Certainly, procreation is, yeah, motivates us to couple up, right? And to
Yeah.
procreate. What
And
else?
then I think you want to stay together. Like I was saying before, the connection piece.
Yeah. How does sexual desire make us want to stay together?
Like you guys talked about in your last week's session, like the women, the more close they feel, the more they want to have sex with their partner. And the men, when they have sex, they feel close to their partner. So it's like a circle pattern, keep people together.
Yep. Yeah, it attracts us to one another. Sexual desire motivates us to come together. It attracts us together and it binds us together. Four things that roles of sexual intimacy and healthy relationships that we talk about are: one, emotional bonding, like you're talking about. It deepens connection. Two, neurochemical attachment. There are a lot of good hormones and neurotransmitters that are released as a result of sexual desire and sexual activity: oxytocin, dopamine, bonding hormones that further then reinforce the connection and attraction between the two people. Three, trust and vulnerability. Sexual desire motivates us to be more open and vulnerable with one another. And then there's attachment reinforcement. It confirms our mattering and safety with one another. And another graph that will show up, or that I'll show here, is that, again, in humans, most of the time, sexual desire is consistent and it's powerful, and it serves to attract us. It motivates us to be together. It motivates us to create family and to be willing to sacrifice and show up for each other. Not just so that we can have sex, but it motivates us to do the things necessary to help somebody else want to be with us, right?
I'd like to hear what you think about like how pornography affects a relationship.
Yeah.
On that note.
Okay. Good. Really good point here. So typically the sexual desire is this big kind of fire hydrant, powerful thing drawing us toward each other. And when you siphon some of that sexual desire off to pornography, and you siphon some of that sexual desire off to masturbation, and you siphon some of that off to affairs or other relationships, what that does is it dilutes the sexual desire, drawing you to your partner. And so instead of this like big, you know, powerful motivator that is drawing us toward one another and drawing us to create family and drawing us to negotiate and to do the things necessary to be together, when we siphon some of that off to pornography and masturbation and affairs and other different things, then we're left with just this little kind of trickle magnitude of magnetism drawing us toward each other, and so it really dilutes some of the healthy benefits of sexual desire in our relationship. And I recognize that that's not a super popular stance, and many of you listening to this may take umbrage with what we're doing. But if you understand the healthy role of sexual desire, that even aside from any like religious or moral views on pornography or masturbation, just relationally, there's an important relational component in terms of sexual desire that gets diluted when we siphon some of that off to some of those other places.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very important. Like if you're trying to have a really strong relationship, then you want to have a pull toward each other. If you're taking some out, the pull is less. But I've heard you talk about the hormones before. And is it different when you're having sex with your partner versus?
Yes, and actually, I actually want to push pause on that piece a little bit when we talk about some of the attachment component and the neurochemical process that occurs in the sexual response cycle for men and women, because we'll go kind of deep into the neurochemical stuff that goes on there. So is it okay if we wait to talk about that a little bit? One of the things that you can kind of think about this as well is, and I don't want to make it so biological, but it's not dissimilar to hunger. When you're hungry, what are you motivated to do?
Eat.
Right. And the more hungry you get, what happens to that? The more you want to eat, right? And the more motivated you are to get food. But if you're snacking all day, what happens to that motivation?
It depletes it.
It depletes it.
You don't have a strong desire to.
Yeah, it's not getting some food isn't that motivating to you. And sexual desire, again, is similar in that regard, where it does motivate us to seek one another out. And one of the dangers of living online, of having relationships with AI, again, fantasies of pornography and those kinds of things, is that it dilutes the healthy role of sexual desire in motivating us to show up for one another, to seek one another out. If I'm snacking all day, then I'm much less motivated to seek out food, right? And if I'm diluting sexual desire all the time, then I'm much less motivated to seek out healthy releases of and coupling and turning toward and being willing to do the things to be able to connect with my wife.
I mean, I just think it makes lots of sense. I just wondered if there's anything you want to say about like core personality types and how it plays in.
Yeah. How do you think core affects either specifically sexual desire, or what have you noticed in terms of sex and core?
I don't know if I have much to say about how it affects the desire, but I think that personality types may play into like how they want it to go down. A fun personality type might want it to be, surprise, like this is fun right now,
more spontaneous.
And yeah, spontaneous. Some of the other types might want to like have it on the calendar,
right?
Keep you ready to go.
Right. Yeah. Predictability tends to be more important for C's and E's than for O's and R's. And O's and R's tend to be able to shift gears much more spontaneously and can actually feel a little trapped by a plan. And so, if you try to set up a sex date with your O spouse for Thursday evening, that might feel kind of confining to your O partner, because O's live in the present and tend to like the freedom and spontaneity of being able to shift gears quickly. And then also, in terms of sexual desire, what you were saying is also important. If things feel overly complicated in terms of for O's and R's, if things feel overly complicated, if we have to go through this big rigmarole or have to do a lot of things to be able to even get to the point to where we can have sex together, it tends to be kind of a killjoy and can dampen sexual desire for O's and R's. Where one of the strengths of like the C is being willing to fuss over the details. And so like C's can be really good at like setting the mood and candles and, and lighting and scents and materials and, lingerie or, different things that C's are really good at fussing over the details. And the more comfortable a situation feels for the C, the more sexual desire increases. A couple of points of advice that I would give, and then welcome thoughts on your end as well. One is I would strongly encourage you to be very mindful of the things that you do or don't do to siphon off or dilute the healthy role of sexual desire in your relationship. And again, just if you just make it really simple, two of the healthy functions of sexual desire are to attract us to one another and to bind us to each other as we experience the vulnerability and the sexual intimacy. Again, we'll talk about that more in subsequent Coaches Corners here. But so it attracts us to each other and it binds us to each other. I would really encourage you to be very mindful of the things that you might be doing, either intentionally or subconsciously, to dilute or siphon off some of that sexual desire, and notice the way that it affects your interest in connecting with your partner and your willingness to do things to be able to connect with them. Huge thing. A lot of times we feel powerless in our ability to affect the level of sexual desire, and sexual desire in women is a whole thing that we need to talk about, but notice how that affects it. And then prioritizing sexual intimacy as a tool to connect emotionally, and your ability to really promote and improve. And again, there's lots of neurochemical stuff that we'll get more into, but your ability to promote emotional connection through sexual intimacy is a really important thing to understand. What advice would you give?
Kind of what you were saying at the very end. I was going to say that like it matters. If you think it doesn't matter, it does matter. And if you want to get closer to your spouse, that's one area you can work on to get closer.
Yes. And then understanding your partner's core is really important, because if you're married to a C and you've got kind of a loose plan set for the night of what you're going to do, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, do you want to go have sex? The C brain doesn't shift gears really quickly. And so that's going to be difficult. You're not setting your C partner up for success by not understanding how to engage. Where if you send a text earlier in the day or when you first come home, you say, hey, I'd really love to connect with you tonight and spend some time with you, and would you be interested in having sex or making love or connecting in that way? And that gives the C brain an opportunity to be able to prepare and shift gears readily. And and if you're married to an E, the E brain is about figuring out the best way to do things. And so sometimes sex can become like anything else. When the E brain is thinking, it's trying to figure out how to make something better, and it doesn't matter what it's thinking about. And so if that focus gets steered on like how to help you have the best orgasm, or how to set the mood in the best way, or whatever, the E brain is going to be picking apart the process and trying to figure out how to improve it. And sometimes that can feel clinical and unromantic, especially depending on the temperament of your partner. So things to consider there.
Awesome. Well, that's a fun combo.
Yeah. Thanks, Amy. That was great. Thank you. It's good to see you.